My system's gone AWOL, AWOL. Now I've got nothing else to prove. I have got no more love to lose. Don't know when to dance. Whoa, don't know when to dance. It's because of you. Don't know when to dance. I'm wrapped up now with you. Just tell me it's true. Don't know when to dance. The whole wide world is new. You spend all of your time reading between the lines. I'm now right at the break, right at the danger sign. Guess what you got me now? I'm turned on back somehow. 'Cause of you. I'm wrapped up now with you. Just tell me it's true. The whole wide world is new. It's because of you. I don't know when to dance. Just tell me it's true. I don't stand half a chance. Don't know when to dance. Don't know when to dance. It's because of you, girl. I'm wrapped up now with you. Just tell me it's true, girl. The whole wide world is new. It's because of you, girl. I don't know when to dance. Just tell me it's true, girl. I don't stand half a chance.
When I work on Motorcity tracks, the vocals I'm presented with come off the original 2-inch recording, so that means that they're just a solo vocal with no other music. And I'm amazed sometimes at how fantastic the performances are. They've got great voices and, I mean, they just sing from the heart. They're fantastic.
I cut a song with Ian and called On Top of the World. And after I heard the new mix, it's fantastic. And I think it's going to be a great hit.
Do you remember how it used to be? We do all the things only true lovers would do. I can remember the first time I longed for you and the sweet taste of your lips on mine too. I wonder, do you ever think of me? 'Cause I know there's not a day that passes by I don't think about you. Yes, I wonder, have I ever crossed your mind? 'Cause now I know what I've lost when I used to be. Oh, on top of the world. You put me on top of the world. I was standing tall. I could never fall on top of the world. Oh, yeah. Foolish pride can make you do things you may regret. And I do regret ever leaving you. It's not right. Oh, all I need is a moment to tell you how I feel. When so much was so good, we didn't talk, we just fight. Oh, I wonder, do you ever think of me? 'Cause I know there's not a day that passes by I don't think about you. Yes, I wonder, have I ever crossed your mind? 'Cause now I know what I've lost I just wanna be on top of the world. You put me on top of the world. I was standing tall. I could never fall on top of the world. Oh, on top of the world. You put me on top of the world. I was standing tall. I could never fall on top of the world.
This is Ronnie McNair working with Obi from the Four Tops, otherwise known as Ronaldo Benson, who sang backing vocals with him, making one of Ralph Chee's favourite records ever, Wholeheartedly.
People just don't seem to see what a beautiful thing true love can be. Love makes a weak man strong, makes him wanna do right, stop doing things wrong. Oh yeah, I know, sure you're right. I know, oh honey, for sure, yeah, sure you're right. I know we can be together, for sure. I know that's forever, baby. I know, yeah, we can be together, loving you forever, girl, for sure. Yeah, I know that's forever. It's really such a pleasure, oh girl, when I'm holding you so tight, oh babe. And it's oh so wonderful, loving you through the night. Yes it is. You really, really got my number. You know I've got a crush on you. And it's oh so real, this love that I feel, coming straight from my heart, that's true. Baby, I know, oh, we can be together, for sure. Our love will last forever. Wholeheartedly, baby. Girl, I love you, yeah. Baby, don't you know I adore you? Oh, loving you wholeheartedly. It's really so amazing, oh baby, how you stopped me in my tracks, oh girl. You stopped all my womanizing, my fantasizing, and throwing away my money that I can't get back. 'Cause I know, oh, we can be together, for sure. Our love will last forever. Wholeheartedly, baby. Girl, I love you. Ooh, think the world about you. Oh, baby, gonna love you. Love you, baby. Anytime that we're together, girl, I find you're my friend. I'm gonna love you, wholeheartedly, baby. Girl, I really love you, baby. Really love you, girl, yeah. Wholeheartedly. I know we can be together, for sure. Our love will last forever, baby.
Barbara McNair is an outstandingly glamorous lady. She was an actress, a TV presenter and vocalist. She appeared as Richard Roundtree's wife in the Shaft movies. And she turned up at the studio and she blew everyone away because a lot of people that obviously didn't associate her with Motown remembered her from her film and TV appearances in the States. She was a big star. and a very, very glamorous lady, and it was very much a pleasure for us to have her on the Motorcity label.
When we first met each other, both of us had time. Your woman and my man had a plan to keep us apart. Each time we talked together, they had jealous eyes. He taught me she taught you. The love grew in our hearts, and now a door between us is opening, and our emotions are walking right on in, 'cause we face to face with love tonight.
This is a nice little package put together by Channel 50 in Detroit. I went on their TV show several times. This one showed a bit of recording in the studio with Francis Nero and Marv Johnson, and I was in the studio talking with Kim Weston and with former Herman's Hermits Peter Noon.
It takes two, baby. It takes two, baby.
In 1972, Berry Gordy packed up and moved his Motown record label from Detroit to LA. Left behind were many of his finest artists, great artists who reflected urban black America in the 1960s, artists who made Motown the sound heard around the world, artists who have spent the past 15 or 20 years living in the shadows of their Motown glory days. But all of that may soon change, as we see today on Newsline. And if British producer Ian Levine gets his way, those careers will be back in the spotlight again. His mission, to resurrect the careers of more than 100 vintage Motown artists, like Francis Nero, one of the first to sign with Motown.
It sounds unbelievably wonderful. We'll run back to the top, just run it one more time, okay?
Yeah! The efforts of this Englishman, just more proof of the universal appeal of the Motown sound. What is it about the Motown sound, Ian, that has you on this mission?
I don't know. Everybody else with that. It's hard to explain. I was a kid of like 14 and 13, 14 years old, and I got very into it. And my introduction, first of all, I'd heard some stuff on the radio. I was very young. And there was a great movie called Nothing But a Man, which Motown did the soundtrack to. I mean, people have forgotten this. It was the first ever movie to have an official Motown soundtrack. It was like a black and white movie about oppression in the early 60s. Do you remember it at all, Kim?
No, I don't.
Martha and the Vandellas, Heatwave was the Heatwave was the featured song on it, and some of the Miracles and the Supremes and everything. But it really got me into the stuff, and I started looking for the records. And when they started, the label in England wasn't called Motown; it was called Tamla-Motown, a fusion of Berry Gordy's two label names.
Yes.
And I started collecting them all. And by about 67, 68, I'd managed to have every single Motown record ever released in England. And I was buying things like the Supremes, Reflections, and You Keep Me Hanging On, and all those, you know, classic things, and Kim's records, like Kim and Marvin's duet, It Takes Two. And it stuck with me. And then in 1969, I met Kim at 15 years old. I was on a plane going to Los Angeles with my parents, and I met her husband, Mickey Stevenson, who was sitting next to me on the plane, and he was Motown's head of A&R. That means he's A&R, artist and repertoire, the person that selects the songs to be recorded. And because I was a Motown fan, he introduced me to Kim at the airport, and she took me out for the whole day. This wonderful lady who I was in awe of. She was so slender and elegant and gorgeous, you know, like a movie star sort of look. She took me out, she picked me up at my hotel, she drove me around, went shopping, she took me to Mickey's studio, showed me around, and, you know.
And that did it.
That did it. And
so what you're doing now, these years later, is you are looking at the real vintage artist. You're going right back to the
more
beginning.
than that. I'm trying to recapture everything that was Motown. I mean, Kim actually started this.
Yes.
Because in January '87, a friend of mine in London said, are you interested in recording Kim Weston? And at this stage, I'd become a successful producer. I'd had one record that sold 7 million, another one that did 2 million. I'd had a few things that, you know, around the world that had been hits.
Yeah.
And I'd just formed my own label, and I wanted to record Kim for my label. So we hooked up together, did a song called Signal Your Intention, and then I did Mary Wells and lots of other Motown artists, and then we came to Detroit, and I got loads together. It's ended up 103 different acts that were all with Motown.
And you do have a distributor now. You've got a deal with
signed a major American deal, Quality Records.
What surprised me, though, I was looking through some clippings, and Kim, maybe you want to address this kind of attitude from record companies, and all of you who have dealt with record companies, not necessarily known for their far-reaching vision at times. And you went to, I know it was Atlantic. And
oh, yes.
What was the wretched
You've seen
woman?
that.
Yes, what did she say?
I had set him an appointment with the head of Atlantic, Armit Ertegun, his right-hand man, Osman Iralp, had arranged an appointment for me, and then he said he wanted the lady that ran the black music division, Sylvia Rohn, to actually look at the stuff, and he set me up an appointment. I was in New York, and this was arranged by the owner of Atlantic, basically. So I went in to see her, and she said, I don't want to know about this. She said, these are all old has-beens, forget it. And she did not listen to one tape. I went in there with like tapes of 100 songs that was cut. She did not listen to one. And I said to her as I left, I said, well, if Bettye LaVette and Tina Turner walked in here, you'd say the same thing about them. And, you know, she wasn't interested in anybody over 21 years old.
And here's the Monitors recording the old standard Day by Day in their inimitable style. The harmonies were fantastic. They started out doing it a cappella in the studio, and then we put a beat to it. And then I discovered that I kept all the video footage when we were actually filming it. So there we go, the Monitors, which we only remixed about a year ago, and Day by Day.
Day by day, you're making all my dreams come true, and come on, May, I want you to know I'm yours alone, and I'm in love to stay. As we go through the years, day by day, day by day, you're making all my dreams come true, and come on, May, I want you to know I'm yours alone, and I'm in love to stay. As we go through the years, day by day. Day by day, you're making all my dreams come true, and come on, May, I want you to know I'm yours alone, and I'm in love to stay. As we go through the years, we go through the years. We go through the years. Day by day, day by day, day by day, day by day, What you thought? Ain't nothing but a fun, right? I'm falling more in love with you and you.
The all-male Motown group, the Contours, was having something of a renaissance because of the Patrick Swayze movie Dirty Dancing with the track Do You Love Me? So much so, even though we had 2 original members of the group, the rest of them thought they were something really special. So when we actually got the original lead singer in to actually do some other recording, Ian actually finally tracked the guy down and got him in to do some work. Billy Gordon and Seabrand, feathers were ruffled.
Look out for the stop sign. I'll be standing there waiting for you. Set the time, pick the place. A Mary Chase.
Do we do this over and over?
Here's legendary Motown songwriter-singer Ivy Joe Hunter doing a song that he wrote with me called Running Through My Fingers, a record that went on to become a huge beach record in Carolina and very popular, still there to this day. And here's Mary Wells. She was dying of throat cancer at the time, but she didn't know it. She didn't understand why she kept getting a sore throat and she kept going husky. She's singing a rather garage-type house, sort of modernised combination of old Motown mixed with modern dance rhythms called You're the Answer to My Dreams. Next to Francis Neil's footsteps, the best and most well-known and beloved Motorcity record was Chuck Jackson's All Over the World. So what a pleasure it was years later to film him doing it. Here it is, the full, unedited, unaltered version of Chuck Jackson, All Over the World.
to learn that you're the best. I could search from left to right, but you'll still be my guiding light. I could fly all over the world. I could try all over the world. Don't know why, all over the world. I could search my whole life through. No one can compare to you. I could fly all over the world. I could try all over the world. Don't know why, all over the world. I could fly all over the world. I could try all over the world. Don't know why, all over the world. I could fly all over the world. I could try all over the world. Don't know why, all over the
Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. It's been well documented that Martha and the Vandellas had a very stormy relationship during their tenure with Motown, and it was quite a coup that Ian actually got them back on record again after 20 years or so. One of the other problems that we faced was that Martha wouldn't be photographed with Rosalind and Annette, the original Vandellas, and therefore we had to come up with a little bit of a ploy. Martha did a photo shoot and the Vandellas did separate photo shoots. And we decided, okay, we'll fuse the photos together and see what we come up with. Unfortunately, Martha's photos disappeared, somewhere in the back of a taxi, if I remember rightly. But unfortunately for whoever had acquired the photos, Ian had peace of mind to actually keep the Polaroid from the photo shoot. I touched the photo up, and the end result is, voila, Martha and the Vandellas on a record sleeve, all together. Very sorry about that, Martha.
Whenever I'm with him, something inside starts to burning, and I'm filled with desire. Could it be a devil in me, or is this the way love's supposed to be? It's like a heat wave burning in my heart. I can't keep from crying, staring me apart. Whenever he calls my name, songs more sweet and plain. Right then, right there, I feel that burning flame. Has a high blood pressure got a hold on me, or is this the way love's supposed to be? It's like a heat wave burning in my heart. I can't keep from crying, staring me apart.
In 1990, we staged an amazing concert in Detroit with 17 former Motown acts, the Motorcity Review, live at the Pontchartrain. It was filmed by Charlie Records in 1990 and sat in the can for about 12 years, and recently we re-edited it for them, and hopefully it's going to see light of day soon. They own the footage to that. In the meantime, there's a great news piece about it on Channel 2 in Detroit with Frankie Gay and Kim Weston, and here's the news piece that we got the rights to.
And finally, it was a night of magic at the Pontchartrain tonight. Motown magic, that is, as Motown stars from past and present gathered to entertain their biggest fans.
It takes two, baby. It takes two, baby. Me and you. Just takes two. It takes two, baby. It takes two.
That was just one of the highlights as Kim Weston and the late Marvin Gaye's brother, Frankie Gay, performed the old Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell hit, It Takes Two. There will be 2 more performances of the Motor City Review tomorrow night at 6:30 and 10. Haunting, isn't it? It looks just like Marvin Gaye.
One of those shows where they'll have audiences of all ages, young people and older people like it.
I remember after a lot of the recordings had been done, Ian had organised this amazing concert at the Pontchartrain in Detroit, which featured 17 of the artists. A lot of interest surrounding it. I remember Ian also went on a couple of chat shows to talk about it in advance. One was with Bettye LaVette, Frankie Gay and Kim Weston, and another one with Marv Johnson and one of the Contours.
Radisson Hotel Pontchartrain presents the Motor City Review live at the Pontchartrain. One more way Ian Levine can showcase these stars. And today we welcome producer Ian Levine and two of those Motown stars. We have Marv Johnson and from the Contours, Joe Billingsley. Good to have you here. Good to see you back, Ian.
I'm glad to be back on the show.
When we had you on before, you were busily recording. Tell me what's going on
Yeah, I
now.
came on before with Kim Weston, and we were talking about,
Yeah.
at that stage, I think we were in February, in a marathon recording session.
Yes.
Now here we are in August. We've now finished 450 songs. We'll have 500 done by the end of the year. And we've got stuff coming out all over in Europe and everywhere else at the moment. And the American launch is on Labor Day with 9 albums here in the States. But this concert particularly that we've done, this is like, to me, is like the pinnacle of everything we've been working for 3 years. Because for the first time since the 60s, it's such a large review of the former original Motown acts. You know, when I say former, because Motown have their own shows and their own acts at the moment, but ours are the original acts from the 60s and the 70s that made the Motown sound what the public came to know and love. And we now have got 15 different former Motown acts on this 2-day show. And basically, we've made sure that the Friday show and the Saturday show are different to each other. So you see half the artists on one night and half the other. And there were 2 shows each night, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock each night.
And they're 2.5-hour shows, aren't
Yeah,
they? Well,
yeah.
so people are really going to get their money's worth.
You need to come and see both shows. And I think that anybody that ever grew up with the Motown sound and ever has enjoyed Motown and loved that sound, I think it's their duty to come and support the acts, because we've had nothing this big for 20 years. That's a statistical fact. And I think that I don't want it to be another 20 years till it happens again. Let's make a success of it, and there can be more. This is the first time we've done this in the States, and to me, it's just really important. I think it's going to be a fabulous success.
Marv, what do you think of it's interesting, the Prophet Unheeded in their own land. I mean, it takes a Briton to come over and tap into the treasures that we have right here in Detroit, musically.
Well, I think that it's wonderful for the artists who naturally have loved music all their lives to have someone take interest in them at the nostalgic years, during the nostalgic years. Now, Motown, as we all know, is a name that is embedded in American music, period. But to have Ian revive the artists and to record them and have this music relived by the young people in our country is one of the most greatest things that could ever happen to us. Tomorrow night we have people like Hattie Littles, we have Bettye LaVette, Kim Weston will be with us also, we have Francis Nero. These girls have paid their dues indeed in the music world, but to have this gentleman come along and sort of revive the music gives us all an opportunity to perform as we love to.
Joe, when you're working with Ian, you're in the studio working, what's it like? Are you putting a 90s polish on what you did in the 60s?
I would say so. It's changed quite a bit from the 60s, but I believe that we have put a 90s sound with our music, thanks to Ian.
But people don't want you to mess with it too much, do they?
Well,
right?
these are
They
new
love
recordings,
that.
Cynthia. Everybody, if they want to buy the original Contours recordings, there's the original Motown reissue, their old Do You Love Me album on CD, and I did some new tracks. Now, next week in England, we released the brand new Contours album, which has a couple of remakes of like This Old Heart of Mine and First I Look at the Purse, but the rest is all new material. In fact, I think we've even got the sleeve there for you.
Yes, let's take a look here, because you've got some beautiful. So there's the Contours flashback. That's coming out in England?
Yeah, that's the album, yeah.
And when will we see it here in the States?
It's guaranteed an American release, so sometime in the next 2 or 3 months, guaranteed. We've also got a couple of other new albums. We've got Marv's new album that's coming out in England very shortly as well.
We have the Elgins, that's coming.
Yeah, there's the Elgins, yes. They're on the show, of course, at the
Yeah, I
Pontchartrain.
might add, the Elgins, the members of the Elgins group, these are personal friends of mine that I've grown up with and lived with in the city of Detroit all my life. And to have them on shows with me across Europe and things is just wonderful because, you know, just to have people that you know.
Yes.
Yeah, the Elgins one in England with Marv. We had a review there, but all.
And there's Mars.
There's Marv's record.
Yeah, you're
right there on Hitsville.
Hitsville USA. Yes, the old building there, yeah.
And this is a 12-incher, isn't it?
That's the 3 ladies from the Supremes, Jean, Sherry, and Linda. That's their new 12-inch covers, the remake of Stoned Love.
And will they be performing this weekend?
Oh, yes, yes.
So you've got...
Let me try to remember who else we've got on, because there's so many.
It's a huge, huge array.
We've got, as I said, Jean, Sherry, and Linda, the 3 ladies from the Supremes, reunited for the first time since the group split up in 1977. We've got Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, the Contours, of course, Kim
Monitors?
Weston, Marv Johnson, the Monitors, Frankie Gay, that's Marvin Gaye's brother, doing some of Marvin's songs, and a special new song we've written called My Brother, which is about Marvin. He's premiering that here for the first time. We have the Valadiers, we have Bettye LaVette, Carolyn Crawford, Francis Nero, Hattie Littles, and I've also got one of the original lead singers of the Marvelettes, Wanda Rogers, who's been recording again. She hasn't performed since the 60s, and she's going to come on stage and redo Don't Mess With Bill for the first time in, like, you know, over 20 years. So it's 15 acts in total. I hope I haven't left anybody off, trying to think of them straight off the top of my head.
You won't see the 15 acts in one night.
Split
It's a
into
two-night performance, you know. And Detroiters, they're very keen and wise about music, but what I would like to tell them, they will see genuine Motown, and of course recording at home or performing at home is always a sort of extra effort put into that, so they can look forward to a great show from everybody.
Which is why I had to do it in Detroit rather than London. We did a big show, we did a tour last November with Marv and the Elgins and these ladies from the Supremes and Carolyn, Kim Weston and Sarita. But that was 6 acts, this is 15 acts. This is the biggest we could ever tackle in one show. And we're making a video that's going to go on worldwide release called the Motorcity Review Live at the Pontchartrain. We've got a whole film crew run by Sylvia Moy who are coming in to film it over the 2 days. And the people that distributed my label in England have paid for the video up front. They gave Sylvia the money to shoot it. So that's a guaranteed released video and also possibly to be shown on TV in England and stuff. We're also doing a double live soundtrack album called the Motorcity Review Live at the Pontchartrain in Detroit. Wow. So it's an event. What I'm saying is, to everybody out there, I mean, I know you get told to come to events all the time, and I don't want this to sound like a hype or a plug, but if you miss this, you won't get another chance to see something like this. So if you're into the music, for God's sake, come and see it, because it's too wonderful to miss.
A lot of great things have come out of this city, and one of the best is the Motown sound. And with us today are some Motown greats, people you may recognize from years gone past, and people who will now be a part of our present. Welcome Kim Weston.
Hi.
Singer with Motown. Frankie Gay, Marvin Gaye's brother. Bettye LaVette.
Hi.
How you doing?
Fine.
And Ian Levine is way over there on the left.
Hi.
Ian is a producer who has resurrected many of the careers of the Motown greats. Thank all of you for joining us this noon. Maybe you can start a singing group right here.
All right.
We'll do that.
This is a great room to do a show.
Yes, it is.
Now, you're going to be performing live tonight, 2 shows at the Pontchartrain, the Motorcity Review, live at the Ponch, 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. Kim, what does this show mean to you?
Well, I've been wanting to be on the P-Jazz series for a good while, and doing it with Motown is definitely a good way to do it.
But when you look back at the past, you performed with some of the great duets with Marvin Gaye, It Takes Two, and several great songs. And now you're going to be performing with Frankie Gay, Marvin's brother.
Yes. I've known Frankie since he was a teenager, as well as Ian, and I never knew that he could sing until he was grown. So not only does he sound like his brother, he has his own thing, which is fantastic. And those of you that have not had an opportunity to hear him, you owe it to yourselves to come and join us.
Oh, Frankie, I do want to talk to you a minute, too. Frankie Gay, Marvin Gaye's brother. Frankie, there's been a lot of tragedy in your family and a lot to overcome. You're going to be singing with Kim Weston, stepping into the shoes of your brother.
Yes.
That must be a very emotional experience.
It is. It's really very exciting for me to even be sitting here with Kim and Bettye. And Ian Levine, I feel really privileged to be on the show tonight. It's going to be a wonderful event.
A lot of people talk about Marvin Gaye's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. I don't know if you remember when he sang the Star Spangled Banner for the Lakers game. You remember hearing Roseanne Barr's version of that? When you heard that, what did you think of that?
Yeah. I think to compare the two, it's one extreme to the other.
Okay. And Bettye LaVette.
Yes.
Bettye, it's going to be good to see you again. What have you been doing all these years?
I've been doing quite a bit of theater, and I never knew that I could tap dance before I got involved in that. And just things like that, and that's just so far from recording. It's almost like another world. It's like doing the soaps or something. But Ian has come and pulled this all together. Some people that we've not seen forever, we won't say how many years, but it's been quite some time. Kim and I see each other all the time, but so many others that we have not seen. There's so much hugging and kissing and crying. It's just wonderful, and we love Ian for doing this.
It's good to have the family back together.
Yes, it is.
You mentioned Ian Levine, and we want to bring him in right now. Ian, you have done a marvelous job in bringing these Motown greats together again.
Thank you so much.
How are their records doing in America? I know they're big hits.
Well, the records are not being launched in America until Labor Day, We've got 10 albums, coming out in Labor Day. There are a series of 5 called the Motorcity Dance Party. There's a series of 4 direct mail order albums you can buy with a Visa or MasterCard. And there's an album called Girl Groups of the Motorcity. And they're all being launched here in September. So this particular concert in Detroit is my way of saying to the world, look here, this is the start of the Motorcity reunion. I mean, we've now got 107 former Motown acts, and we've recorded almost 500 songs. I think it's 458 at the last count. So this show over 2 days on Friday and Saturday, we've assembled 15 former Motown acts. You know, some of the well-known names like Martha and the Vandellas and Kim West and the 3 ladies from the Supremes and the Contours. Some of the lesser-known acts like Hattie Littles and Francis Nero on the show. But it's a genuine old-style Motortown, as they called it, review from the 60s, but updated.
Absolutely. The Motor City Review live at the Pontchartrain, 2 shows, 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. We'll be glad to see it. And we just do want to mention, too, that Kim and Frankie will be singing the new Take Two song, It Takes Two. We're going to be singing our theme song for
Can I just tell
TV2.
Can I just tell everybody that you can buy tickets at the door, and remember it's a 2-day show, so the acts on Saturday will not be appearing Friday and vice versa. If you want to see all 15 acts, you need to go on both days, Friday and Saturday.
Thanks very much, Ian. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Good to see them all again.
Yeah, good to hear them again, too.
Being called the Motown Showdown, as Motown stars, past and present, entertain Detroit music fans. TV2's Mike Redford is live now at the Pontchartrain Hotel downtown with more. Has it begun yet, Mike, or are they still waiting?
No, Joe, the show gets started in just about 20 minutes, and it's quite a dilemma for fans of Motown music, that's for sure. Choosing between the Motown veterans and the Motown newcomers. Artists from each era are performing separately, but at different locations around town, but very close by. Here at the Pontchartrain, we're going to be entertained by the Motown veterans, including the Supremes, who join me live. This particular threesome has been together since 1986, although the lady on my left here, Jean Terrell, has been a Supreme since 1969, having replaced Diana Ross at that time. And I guess to say that you're going to be stirring up a lot of old memories this weekend is an understatement, isn't it?
Well, we hope to. We really do hope to stir up some old memories and also some good new memories, because this is a legendary sound, but yet it continues to go on even into the 90s.
I know it's stirring up a lot of old memories, particularly for Sherry Payne. She's a native Detroiter. Don't suppose you have a lot of friends and family out here this weekend, huh?
I most certainly do. I've talked with my father, and he'll be here, and a host of other friends, hopefully, and we're just going to have a good time.
Okay, on the other hand, we have a lot of Motown newcomers. In fact, they're playing right across the street. They're known as the Motortown Review. And I'll talk with the Supreme I haven't talked to yet, Linda Lawrence. And Linda, you told me you don't see those Motown newcomers as competition. Why not?
Well, really, because music is a universal language, and everyone speaks a different language, so there's always a slot for everyone. And people have a chance to listen to what they like. So if they like us, wonderful. If they like the boys, and that's great, too.
Okay, well, ladies, we are certainly looking forward to hearing you this weekend. Thank you for joining us. Certainly no shortage of talent here at the Poncho across the street this weekend. Again, the show here starts at about 20 minutes, the first of 4 performances, 2 tonight, 2 tomorrow night right here, and tickets are still available, so come on down. Reporting live from the Pontchartrain Hotel in Detroit, Mike Redford, TV2 Eyewitness News.
Sounds like the best bet of the weekend. Thank you, Mike.
These are the Marvelettes. The song was originally recorded with Wanda Rogers on lead vocals, but Wanda wasn't really in a state to perform. She had a lot of health problems. And Gladys Horton, the other lead singer of the Marvelettes, flew in from Los Angeles specially to perform this. The Marvelettes and Holding On with Both Hands.
Oh, holding on tight. Just keep on holding on, holding on. Love was the one thing that didn't come easily to me. But all at once I got hooked on its sweet mystery. Now that you changed my life, ooh, don't let go, ooh, baby. You taught me all I know, holding on with both hands, holding day and night, holding on tight. Just keep on holding on, holding on. I was shy and afraid of making that first move. It took a long time for me to see what you were trying to prove. Finally, love hit me like a slap across the face. Now I'm alive with the feeling I'll never replace. Holding on with both hands, holding day and night, holding on tight. Just keep on holding on, holding on. Oh, yes. Ooh, baby, I'm holding on, holding on. Ooh, baby, love is oh so special. It fills me with delight. I can't think of anyone else morning, noon, or night. 'Cause I'm holding on with both hands, holding day and night, holding on tight. Just keep on holding on, holding on. I was at a distance. Ooh, baby, I'm holding on tight. Ooh, I'm holding on. Just keep on holding on, holding on. I was at a distance. My emotions felt so weak until you found me like a game of hide and seek. Thank you for the sunshine that chased the clouds away. Thank you for showing me that love ain't that no pain. No, holding on with both hands, holding day and night, holding on tight. Just keep on holding on, holding on, holding. You gotta hold on. You gotta hold on. You gotta hold on.
The Undisputed Truth were a band, another mixed male-female band on Motown. Joe Harris lived in Detroit. We recorded Law of the Land with him. And in Los Angeles, we worked with Billy Calvin, who is also well known for having written Wishing on a Star for Rolls Royce, and the other female vocalist from the original lineup, V. So we actually enabled to do another reunion of the actual original members, even though it was transcontinental. And it was quite a powerful gathering.
When others don't come through, I can always depend on you. 'Cause you are my whole life. You're my trust line. That's the hook. You're my love. That's the hook. Baby, I'm clinging to you. You're my hope. I'm giving you my trust. You're my love, love line, and I'm clinging to you.
Marilyn, now that's the hook. But that even...
Fabulous, fabulous Motorcity diva Bettye LaVette redoing her classic Let Me Down Easy. What magic.
Let me down easy. Though your love for me is all gone. Let me down easy. Since you feel to stay is wrong. I know it's all over, but the last goodbye. Oh, let me down easy. Now it's all over, but the last goodbye. I'm calling you, baby, please let me down easy. Let me down easy. Let me down easy. Don't turn your back on me so fast. Let me down easy.
The Andantes were Motown's original group of backing singers in the 60s. Very talented bunch of ladies who could sound like anybody from the Supremes to the Vandellas to whoever, and they created and formulated that whole flavour and that sound on those original Motown records. It was great that Ian got them all together to work again. They were a lovely bunch of ladies.
And it happens naturally. There are only two sides of love. There's the girl and the guy of love. That's true. One and one makes two. As in me and you. Always side by side. In love together. No mistake. Give and take, sharing is what I'm speaking of. There's no doubt, people in love will work it out. What's strange about two people who care not? There are only two sides of love. There's the your and the my love. That's true. One and one make two. As in me and you. Always side by side. In love together.
Here's the Contours as only they can perform, redoing their old Detroit classic, First I Look at the Purse.
Tell us about it.
I'll tell you about it. A woman can be as fine as can be, with kisses sweet as honey.
Well, I heard that.
But that don't mean a thing to me if she ain't got no money. Cause if a person's fat,
yeah.
Well, that's where it's at. Yeah. All right, y'all. We talking about little money, y'all. Oh, look at the green. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, some fellas like the way they walk, the way they switch and sway.
Hey.
Some fellas like the way they talk and dig the things they say.
I don't care if she waddle like a duck or talk with the lisp. I just think I'm
dollar bills are crisp. Oh, yes! First I look at the purse. Tell them about it now. First I look at the purse. Trying to tell you. First I look at the purse. Yeah, yeah, yeah. First I look at the purse. Kisses can be sweet as honey. First I look at the purse. But I need me a little money. First I look at the purse. She can be covered with a rag. First I look at the purse. No, she got a little. First I look at the purse. Thank you.
The Elgins were probably the only example of a successful Motown 60s boy-girl combo group, and it was great to actually get most of the original band together with the replacement singer from '68, Yvonne Allen, who originally was a success on the Northern Soul circuit under the name Yvonne Vanille. And they were a very pleasant group to work with. And beyond working with them in Detroit, it was a great thrill to have them over here with Flying Music to do the Legends of Motorcity tour.
You didn't notice me when you walked through the door. If I'm supposed to be here with you, what's she here for? You keep playing your game.
Just, you didn't notice me again. You didn't know the very first line, you didn't notice me. One more time.
Okay. You didn't notice me when you walked through the door.
Okay, great. I want to run it from the top. Do you have any backing parts from the top, or do you, before she starts singing?
When we made the Strange World of Northern Soul documentary, it was running way too long, especially part 3. So the Motor City section had to have about 10 or 15 minutes trimmed out of it. So although some of the footage in the original Motor City section has been seen elsewhere on this documentary that we're putting together now, I thought you would like to see it in its entirety. So bear with me because you'll see some bits for a second time. This was, as it should have been, the entire Motor City piece. A lot of these contained deleted scenes, stuff that had to be trimmed for timing purposes, lots of bits taken out. Here, back restored to its full glory, is the full-length Strange World of Northern Soul section called The Motor City Story.
We were considered Major League Motown fans, and when Ian Levine went to Detroit to start this Motor City project and record some of the great artists from Motown, we were really excited. And we attended the Great Yarmouth Weekender where Edwin Starr went on stage and urged all the Northern Soul fans to get behind this project and give it some support. And 8 years later, when it's a little bit too late, they suddenly want all these records. It's a shame that they didn't support the project at the time.
In 1987, I was working at Arista and Ian Levine was DJing at Heaven, and I remember one Saturday going down to see him and was totally amazed to see that he'd filled the dance floor with a high energy record sung by a former Motown artist, namely Kim Weston. The name of the record was Signal Your Intention, and I remember it was such a clever pastiche of a 60s Motown stomper fused with modern day kind of high energy, and it just worked so well, and it subsequently topped the high energy charts. Soon after, I found myself having a conversation with Ian about his basic plans for the Nightmare Records label, and he was telling me that he was thinking of changing the name from Nightmare Records to Motor City and going and pursuing more of the former Motown acts.
I was really one of the first Motor City artists that Ian Levine, I was the first Motor City artist that Ian Levine produced. A young man who I met when he was 14 years old. So Ian Levine asked if I would be a part of Motorcity Records. And it happens that Motorcity started a thing that fitted right in with the people of Northern Soul.
In 1989, when Ian Levine came to Detroit, to United Sound to do the Motorcity project, well, Jackie had called me up and she said, well, I told him that, well, you know, there are 4 of us. And said, but Levine is in Atlanta, but, you know, it's myself, Marlene, Levine, and Pat. So there are 4 Andantes. And we all went in and we did this great project. It was like a marathon. You know, we had fun. You saw people that, you know, even though you live in the same city, you never run into each other, and it's really amazing. You think Detroit was a whole world instead of the city that it is. But Ian Levine, boy, I tell you, he turned over rocks and everything looking for these people.
There were times I thought that we throw away too much. And I think that in some other countries there's an appreciation for what is and what is very valuable, the value in some of what exists. I think we should be more cognizant of old, you know, what we have that's very much of value. These are treasures. Yeah.
Motorcity was without a doubt a legacy of a wonderful dream that had all the earmarks of being everything that anyone could ever want it to be. The only unfortunate situation about Motorcity is that the gentleman who put it together, Ian Levine, unfortunately ran into a great many piranhas who, rather than collectively being happy that the gentleman was trying to recreate what had already been created, but trying to bring it back as best as possible, they tried to eat him alive. They didn't give him the opportunity to present the package that he envisioned that he wanted to present in the light that he saw it. I tried to curve him as best as I possibly could because I knew that what he was doing was workable in England and quite possibly to Europe, but not so much in the United States because unfortunately the United States is built upon not nostalgia. They're built upon the new, the best, the biggest, the brightest. And as far as they were concerned, they had no place in their heart for these artists because once you pass by, you've passed by, and that is it. It is almost virtually impossible for any act, myself included, to come back in the United States and make a name for yourself.
I would like to say, while I have the opportunity, that I have recorded some tracks with Ian that have just turned out incredibly, and we have one song called Look Into the Eyes of a Fool that I just truly love. He has done all myself, and hopefully some things will come from there. And I'm enjoying being a part of this because I've seen people I haven't seen in 15 years and people you've loved and you've wondered at times how they are, and you see them and everyone's smiling and everyone's hugging, and you suddenly get the feeling of you can never repeat that history of Motown, but suddenly you feel like you're living it again with all these people because of Ian.
Now these Motown acts were basically artists who were still essentially based in Detroit, who hadn't moved with Motown from Detroit to Los Angeles in the early 70s. And Ian, who I knew had always been a Motown fan from an early age, had decided that he was going to go to Detroit and find these artists who had been left behind by Berry Gordy and Co. and put them back in the studio. And I was quite flattered actually as someone who'd been working at Arista when Ian said to me, why don't you join me on this mission?
I went to Detroit with Ian Levine. It was a trip that he offered me because I was working for Blues and Soul and for Dave Pearce on Radio London. I do remember not staying in Detroit terribly long because the place was quite rough. But while we were there, we did meet the Velvelettes, I think it was. Well, they were all there, Marvelettes, Velvelettes. Not all of them very often, and not all of them certainly with all their marbles. I can remember one had a beautiful singing voice, but not a tooth in her head. Now that doesn't look good on television or in a pop video, really. Another one had to have a dress attached by a crocodile clip at the back. But they were all very sweet. They had all had brushes, I think, with marvellous fame in the 60s. They'd run way before they could walk. It happens all the time. I think it happened much more then. That it was thrust upon them with 1 hit, 2 hits, then it was gone. And of course you spend the rest of your life wishing for what was, or someone like Diana Ross, although she's slagged off, you can at least say that she's kept going. You know, the woman has managed to grow into the lifestyle she's created for herself. These others were pretty tragic, really.
Barry Gordy wrote me, please, as the postman.
I'm happy because I've seen so many of my old Motown buddies and artists that I worked with from the year 1962, and this is 1989, and every time I start talking, I just want to cry out because I'm so happy to see so many of my people.
Oh.
Just have to cry.
Well, you're obviously very moved. What about Please Mr. Postman?
I was very young. It was March 1989, I think. And for me, the most memorable time of all, really, all joking aside, was in the studio out in Hitsville, USA. We had a photo call on the garden, just outside. We all went inside, and I was a bit overwhelmed. But as we got into the main studio where they had recorded all the original hits, one of the Fantastic Four was actually playing the piano. And they were all singing Money, and then they were singing Twist and Shout, and they did lots and lots of, particularly Berry Gordy hits. They clearly had hits when they were very young at Motown, because they all seemed to like doing the sort of very early ones like that. And that was really one of the most memorable times I've had in the music business.
The Motown sound was essentially what Northern Soul was all about anyway. But Ian went out there and I think over a period of 5 years recorded over 100 former Motown acts, which was unique and is unique. And the pity about the whole thing is that Ian never really got the support that he deserved for his efforts on that. The 3 people that did support Ian, funnily enough, was Blues and Soul, because we thought what he was doing was valid and unique. Bob Jones at Kiss, and Steve Hobbs, who is even today a Blues and Soul writer.
I knew Ian had done the Motorcity stuff. I knew of Francis Nero, Footsteps Following Me, I knew about the Chuck Jackson records, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't anything I had a great sort of fascination with. I ran into Ian a couple of times, New Music Seminar, and I kind of didn't really take in what was going on. When I got back into the soul scene, I was a bit surprised that Ian's records weren't being played. One night at the Blackburn All-Nighter, Bob Hinsley had covered up a record which I sussed out Ronnie and McNair, Lucky Number. Contacted Ian, who gave me some copies, turned up at the Leeds All-Nighter with it, sold about 60 copies in about 30 minutes. It was like the old days.
With the Lucky Number one, I played that at the Wilton Ballroom, and it went down, you know, reasonably well. And left it for about 12 months, forgot about it, and my wife, it was one of her favourite records at the time, said, why don't you play Lucky Number again tonight for me? So I thought, I will do. It was at Kiel, and they went absolutely bananas. You know, it went down really well. And the thing is that I had about 3 months where there was only me playing that particular track, basically because I had it on a white label. And I'd asked Richard, I said, who's this? And so it's Ronnie McNeir, one of Ian Levine's things. So I just wrote on it, Ronnie McNeir, You're My Lucky Number. And when I played it at Kiel, you know, all the DJs come up and said, what's that? I said, it's Ronnie McNeir. He says, oh yeah, but who is it really? I said, no, it is, it's Ronnie McNeir. He says, you know, like they do, thinking I'd covered it up. And after 3 months, somebody, I think it was Keith Minshall, had found a copy. And then they said, it is Ronnie McNeir.
It was like the old days. Reported back to Ian and told him, and we started listening to some of the other records. I heard Back by Popular Demand with Supremes and the Originals, and took that to Bob Hinsley, who was the DJ who started playing Lucky Number. And Bob came up with the idea of calling it Collins and Collins as a cover-up. and Bob and myself played it, and the record took off enormously. Ian, I think, was really buoyed by that, and not thankful, but he was enthusiastic about it. I went through some other records, and Kim West and A Case of Too Much Love Making got reissued and revived.
March 14th, 1989, we all met outside of Hitsville, and we did this whole big photo shoot. And we also went in and toured Hitsville, which brought back a lot of memories because we were all there. It was just like, my God, if these walls could talk.
What Black America was producing, which was, it was at the height of the hip-hop thing, and whilst there were certain records that I liked out of the swing beat and that scene, it wasn't enough to fill a playlist of what I wanted to play in a club. And at that time, Ian Levine had made a whole bunch of records for Motorcity with all the Motown artists that he'd reassembled. My first reaction when I heard the stuff was, well, this has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do, and I kind of dismissed the idea of it, and I just thought this is just one of those nostalgia trips. Until I started to listen to some of the tracks, and it bowled me over when I heard the Francis Nero record, Footsteps Following Me. I mean, I was convinced not only was this perfect for what I was playing at the time, but this is also a hit record, because the minute I played it at one of my gigs at the Lacy Lady in Ilford, the place went balmy. I mean, it had its echoes in a music from 10 years previously, and this was the very music that my punters were actually into. And then he came along with Chuck Jackson and Johnny Bristol, and all these records were like, hang on a minute, there are records being made that work perfectly with an audience which has grown up through the 70s and early 80s and doesn't want to move on from there. So you had Billy Griffin and Pat Lewis, and all of a sudden, and it took an English DJ to do this, an English record producer, and it was a complete echo back to what had happened 10, 15 years earlier. Of you had to make it, you were going to run out of records that had been made during the golden period of 77 to 82. So maybe we have to start remaking some of those records.
Although we'd known Edwin for quite some time before the Motorcity project started, it was really at the Torbay Weekender that our friendship with JJ Barnes began. We'd known Martha for some time, and again it gave Martha the chance to come to England, Caroline Crawford to come to England, Kim Weston, who has since become a very, very big friend of ours. And through the Motorcity project, we have known and become friends to a lot of the artists that Ian brought over, and without that, I don't think we would have ever got to have known them as well as we did.
Plus the fact that the project was a last opportunity for many of these great artists to record. I mean, we've since lost Mark Johnson, we've lost Mary Wells, we've lost Earl Van Dyke, we've lost Chaka Campbell. I mean, these guys are so much a part of history.
It's something that will never ever happen again, and unfortunately, as we've said before, 8 years down the line, the Northern Soul crowd now want the records. If they'd have wanted them then, who knows what could have come from the project? Who knows what artists could have been brought over?
It's ironic that the recordings Ian made for Motorcity at the time were shunned by Northern Soul fans, totally shunned. And it's so ironic that now they're the most in-demand recordings.
As I think back, Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops came in one night, and there were about 60 of us there. You wouldn't believe how many people were actually with Motown. But there were about 60 of us, and we all did, and we alternated the leads too, because I got a little bit, but I can't help myself.
The Spirit of Detroit Award is presented to you this afternoon as an expression of the gratitude and the esteem of the citizens of Detroit in recognition of your exceptional leadership, your outstanding achievements, and your dedication to improving the quality of life. On behalf of the Detroit City Council, 200,000 families, 1.1 million people who live in this 143 square miles, we welcome you to the city.
The one thing that Ian was doing with the acts, he was recreating the sounds that they had originally created. I think that the fallacy of all of it was thinking that they were too old to do that for. You're never too old in the music industry for you to have a hit. You're never too old in the music industry for times to come back around for you.
We also went down in the Studio A, which was downstairs, and Sweet James of the Fantastic Four sat down playing the piano, and we started singing all of these old Motown songs, you know. It was great. It was really great.
Next, the Temptations, My Girl. You ready? All right. You gonna say My Girl, Joe? You gonna say My Girl? To do? Well, do that. My Girl. The heartbeat. That's the heartbeat. All right.
Can we get this? He's outside. I was kind of sad that during the time I was working with Ian at Motorcity that some of the records didn't achieve the success they most definitely deserved. However, when I moved on to my next position working with Les McCutcheon, who in fact is a former Northern Soul DJ himself, I said to Les that there was a few records among the collection that I thought was worthy of re-release and remixing and having another real go with. In particular, Francis Nero and a song called Footsteps Following Me, which was the first record that we released on Debut Records and subsequently turned into a top 20 record. In fact, we got it to number 17.
One of the great things about the soul scene is that things go from black to white and gets really changeable. When I first contacted Ian and spoke to him for years about Lucky Number, he was sort of on a bit of a low, and it's been 6 years since he'd recorded for Motorcity, and he said, oh well, the northern scene, they'd rejected the music, they had no support for it. I came back and said, well look, Lucky Number, they haven't rejected that, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? And before long we had the Supremes Originals record happening, we had Kim Weston's version of the Case of Too Much Love Making happening. And instead of being this pariah, this label that no one had any time for, people were sort of hunting around asking what obscure records hadn't come out on Motorcity. And it became almost like a collector's thing where people were hunting around for unreleased Motorcity records and asking what Ian had got that hadn't been released, which was, I thought, very, very strange.
When I got involved with helping Ian write the songs that he was writing, we had taken on a new direction. We had found out in Carolina that there was a type of music called beach music that was making a lot of noise. So we started to create new things for these same artists with new songs, with new melodies, with new ideas, you know, with new tracks.
One thing that was good about the Motorcity project that Ian put together is that for once we all got a chance to be together and sing together, and a lot of these people have passed on. Shortly after that, you had Mary Wells, Choker Campbell, Marv Johnson, Earl Van Dyke, David Ruffin.
I know that some diehards on the scene who allegedly love soul acts but never do anything to support them would condemn such a thing and think it's heresy to actually take an artist in the studio and record a new record. And I just think they're talking out their arse with that. I think that's what it's all about.
It was a great opportunity. There'll never be another, I can't imagine, I can't see, well, number one, all of them are gone, but we'll never get a chance to do that again.
Motorcity, right or wrong? I thought it was a great thing for Ian. Well, it was a typically Ian thing to do, more than anything. I mean, he's an obsessive collector of things. Once he had one Marv Johnson, he had to have the lot. You know, he had to have every single artist that he could think of or had done, played the drums on some obscure record that nobody, he had to have them all. Anyone that was still alive or too successful. Obviously, the top tier, Diana Ross, was not going to return his calls. But funnily enough, I thought it was a great thing. It was a great thing for all of us. They certainly were thrilled by it. And I think some local political issue was made of the fact that this was going to bring jobs and attention to Detroit, which of course it didn't really, but I mean it did certainly give a lot of hope and inspiration, all in vain in the end, but it certainly did, and it certainly gave all these people something to do and to think about for the next sort of year or so, because they all came over here, they all had trips to London.
Motorcity, right or wrong, to me, was a great idea. It gave a lot of people hope. It let us express ourselves again. And even though it didn't get the success that it should have had, I feel like it should have been bigger. The effort that was put in it was a lot of effort and a lot of money. Maybe haven't been recouped from that, but to me, it was a good thing because a lot of people, it created a lot of interest again, you know, and gave them a sense of pride again. And the worst thing that can happen to the artist is to lose his pride. And when you can feel good about yourself again, knowing that you're doing something that God gave you this talent. It's a God-given talent. It makes you feel good to know that you got another chance. Even if you don't make it, it's a chance that you can't make it again. And that's what I really feel about the Motorcity scene.
14 years later, we have Motorcity. To some people, a strange crusade by Ian. To other people, an act of heroism. Was it a folly? Well, it cost him money. Was it something he'd do again? Possibly. Was the music wonderful? Some of it was, some of it wasn't. Was it too electronic? Yes. Could you have recorded lesser artists with better quality and maybe you've had a finer body of work rather than so much? You pays your money, you take your choice. The one thing that Ian did pay his money, and he put his money where his mouth was, and he did something that no one else would have done. I guess there's one thing that nobody could deny, even if they feel that Motorcity was a folly, and that is that Motorcity gave an opportunity for many of our old heroes and heroines from Motown to once more live their dreams and once more to go back in the studio and become part of the soul universe that they helped create and helped enrich for themselves and most of all for us. We're not just talking nostalgia. Motorcity meant a lot of artists created great songs, and I've had the privilege recently of working with the master tapes and helping turn them into brand new records for today's current dance scene. one of which, Francis Nero, should again see the lady of Keep On Loving Me high in the British pop charts.
Motorcity, right or wrong, I mean, the way I see it, I think it was Ian Levine's Folly, basically. But if he wasn't going to do it, then nobody else on this planet would have done. And so, basically, it was a good thing that it happened, because, you know, so many artists were given a chance for their light to shine, which they wouldn't have been given if Ian hadn't stepped in and you know, and realised his dream. So, yeah, probably good.
I would like to think that all the hard work I put into these recordings, trying to make them sound as good as possible, is worthwhile, knowing that a lot of these people are legends that I'm working with, people, quite a few of whom have now died. So this is a testament to their work, and people will look back in future generations and listen to these things. And so I'm well aware that I'm responsible for taking care of their memories.
Motorcity Records, 14 years on. Well, first of all, I have a lot of great memories. I mean, I was really felt privileged to be there in the studio in Detroit, in LA, meeting so many great artists and being involved, like that was incredible. As a business venture, possibly a little bit flawed to begin with. Perhaps too many artists were recorded in too short a time. The music, all done on a Fairlight computer, which I think that didn't really work with a lot of people who like more organic flavour. And I know a lot of money was spent at the time, and so if you think about it like that, it should have enjoyed more success than it actually did. But I think it was probably a little bit optimistic, because you do need to spend a great deal of money to do what Ian set out to do successfully. And also, it's all very well spending money on the recording and the artists, all those advances that they had, but because Ian wanted to record everybody, I think perhaps too little attention was given to individual records that really worked well. It was more a case of, well, let's just get as many records done all in one go, rather than hear one record that was really going to stand out at the time and say, well, let's really go for this one. And at the end of the day, we did get the Francis Nero record away, but we had to do a video on that. We had to put a lot of work into that, and I just think that if more attention was given to a few of the better records at the time, it may have had more of a chance.
In a nutshell, I would say that Motorcity, from a humanitarian aspect and from the sensitivity of the plight of the Motown stars as they were, Motorcity became the next evolutionary step. No one could have ever forecast it could happen. It was truly phenomenal in its basic beginnings, because Ian Levine, who had such a love for music and such a love for Motown music, did a lot of research on his own, just trying to track whatever happened to. And the further along he got in his tracking, the more he decided that from the stories he was being told, someone had to step forward and try to restore some sense of worth to people who would begin to feel having been used up and thrown out into oblivion. And Ian was never relenting in that effort. He's told me stories that I know of personal experiences of how he turned over rocks to find this one, that one, and the other one. I brought Chuck Jackson to the fold, and others. I became an evangelist for Ian Levine and his Motorcity records.
Motorcity, right or wrong? Or was it Ian being self-indulgent with his great passion for the Motown sound? If you met those people back at that time and saw their faces, that they were given the chance to relive their youth, to work again, to be part of something, to have another dream, to feel that they could be part of leaving more of a legacy for themselves and for their fans, then I think you'd understand that there's more to it than just one man's desire to record music. It goes larger than that.
Well, we've had a look at Motorcity. It began life in 1987, ran through till about 1992 with a few odd recordings made after that, but not many. And really, financial pressures put an end to a dream that I'd had for many years. Looking back at it now, 108 artists, 800 and odd songs later, who can say if it was right or wrong? We had amazing hits like Footsteps. We lost an amazing amount of money that we could never ever hope to recover. But at least by putting this footage together, it almost brought a tear to my eye, remembering what was, looking at those artists that are not with us, like the Hattie Littles and the David Ruffins of this world, just remembering how good they were and how magical their voices were. I would like to thank you for supporting Motorcity, if you were one of the ones that did, for still cherishing the records and still cherishing the memory of these wonderful artists that we all love. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to do it.
One of the most valuable things for me, or greatest things for me, is I met a woman called Maxine Powell when I was there. Now, she was a very old lady at the time. She'd been the etiquette teacher for people like Diana Ross and all those people, how to get in and out of limos and how to hold their champagne. And these are the kids from the projects of Detroit. She was very much loved person. Now, 3 weeks later, I'm back in London. I'm working on Radio London. Dave Pearce tells me to go to the Soul to Soul gig down in Brixton Academy. Who should be there in the Star Bar but Diana Ross, which I couldn't believe. I'd heard a lot about Miss Ross and, you should never approach her. But when I had the line that Maxine Powell sends regards from Detroit, I had the most brilliant opening line to a superstar you could have. And she and I spent about 20 to 30 minutes chatting about my experiences in Detroit. So thank you, Ian, for that.
I'll give you $1 billion. my heart. We made the greatest love around. Now I could never look at another. You never see me running for cover. Don't need to look for no other lover. Now that you're here to stay. Now you're here to stay. Don't go away. Don't ever leave me, baby. Just one smile from you can make my day. We got togetherness. We're just two hearts beating. We got togetherness. We're like two worlds meeting. Togetherness. Two hearts beating on. We got togetherness. We're just two heads turning. Togetherness. We're like two minds learning. We got togetherness. Our love has begun. As all the years go by, love is the reason why I will always be with you. The magic love can bring keeps me remembering to stay honest, to be true. If I live till the end of forever, I know we always will be together. You know you can depend on me whether life may be good or bad. Good times, bad times, happy times, never sad. You never make me sad, baby. You brought me the best times I've ever had. We got togetherness. Togetherness, two hearts beating. Togetherness. Me and you, like darling, togetherness. Oh, yeah. We got togetherness. We're just two heads turning. Togetherness. We're like two minds learning. We got togetherness. Our love has begun. Togetherness, we're just two heads turning. Togetherness, one and one makes two minds learning. Togetherness, our love's just begun. We got togetherness, we're just two hearts beating. Togetherness, you make me feel so good. Togetherness, baby.
Hello, my name is Frank Wilson, and I was brought over by Kev Roberts and Richard Serling to perform for the very first time the song Do I Love You, Indeed I Do, at the Fleetwood Blackpool all-nighter. We had a fabulous time. In fact, I couldn't believe it. 2,000 screaming fans. It took me completely by surprise that this song has created that much attention and that these people at Fleetwood loved it so much. It really warmed my heart. In fact, I was overwhelmed.
We had two spots at Togetherness. We did the Saturday afternoon, which coincided with the England football match, but we still had a dance floor humming, I'm pleased to say. And then we also did the Saturday night's main all-nighter. For me, I really enjoyed the Saturday afternoon, although, yes, I was the one who lost my voice, and I had to rely heavily on Carl helping me out on that one. Thanks, Carl.
For the next hour and a half, you're going to experience the unfolding of some unbelievable events that took place at this weekend. You're going to hear Snake Davis, Bobby Patterson, and myself. You're going to be thrilled moment by moment by some of the most spectacular kinds of occurrences that take place not only on the stage, but also in the audience. It was a phenomenal weekend. Seems to be some strange link over the years between sort of holiday campsites and Northern Soul. I got my first real taste of it after I'd quit the Northern Soul scene for a while. when I was doing Motorcity in 1989 and 1990. A bunch of Northern Soul weekenders at Great Yarmouth in a big caravan site, and we had all these Motorcity artists on. We had Johnny Bristol, Martha Reeves, Richard Popcorn Wiley, Marv Johnson, Pat Lewis, G.C. Cameron. They all appeared there at these weekenders. They did both the Northern Soul bunch of them. I remember Pat Lewis appeared with the Lorraine Chandler, Eddie Parker, Ray Pollard and Garland Green. They were all on. And I also remember a specific Motorcity one that Edwin Starr was at with G.C. Cameron, Martha Reeves, Johnny Bristol and all them. I've got video footage of it all. And it was all on this holiday camp, and I was like, I didn't want to stay on site. I remember staying at a hotel in Great Yarmouth. I mean, we're still going back 12 years. And it was just this amazing paradox. Here you are, we're in the middle of winter at the time, gales blowing across the seafront, and suddenly in this deserted holiday camp that no one should normally be interested in being at that time of the year, was all-nighters with Northern Soul. It was a real strange paradox. It seems to have really worked because the Cleethorpes things became very popular over the last few years, and now the Togetherness thing has really become the creme de la creme of these kind of weekenders. So I got quite used to it, as I said, with the Motown weekenders and with the Northern Soul ones that Barry Collins was running all those years ago. They were probably the first ones of their type. It was taken off a Northern Soul version of what they used to have at Caister, the Soul weekenders and stuff, for the Southern Soul people, Chris Hill and Sean French and Foggy and all that used to do. But it's become the norm now. I mean, there is no better venue than Togetherness. Togetherness is the best of the year. It's the one that everybody looks forward to. It's the big meeting point, the best artist, the best venue. It's fantastic.
Well, weekenders historically have always been held in holiday camps. I mean, ever since I was at school as a teenager, going, to the Case of Soul weekenders, they were always held in holiday camps. I never really thought of it in terms of, the carry-on camping kind of aspect to it. I guess because whenever I've been to a weekender over the years, I've never really indulged in like the going and buying provisions and cooking on site and all that kind of stuff. I've always sneaked off to a nice restaurant somewhere, or sometimes even stayed in a nice hotel. So I'm not really one for kind of like mucking in on that kind of environment. And for me, it's purely about the music, and wherever the the event's being held, I never really think of it as what this place does during the summer or anything like that. It's not something that really enters my mind, to be honest with you.
It seems to me that from the early Caisters that were always on holiday camps, it seems that it's the perfect place really, because sometimes they can be a little nostalgic looking, so you get a kind of a feeling there, which builds an atmosphere from the start. So also, I suppose, being slightly out of season, these places are good to hire and easy to hire. So, but the atmosphere's already there, Plus, you don't have to walk miles to get into the venue, which is, unless, of course, you're unfortunate enough to be down the bottom end of the site like we are. Yeah.
think all the weekenders are very different. Caister is very southern based and has a tremendous core audience via the golden era, their golden era, which is very much around people like Froggy, Chris Hill, Robbie Vincent, the late great Steve Walsh. Cleethorpes is it kick-started the Rare Soul Weekender, and I suppose it has Togetherness as its competitor. I think where Togetherness though has leapt way in front of Cleethorpes is, one, we have the size of the site, so we can hold a lot more people than Cleethorpes can. I think we've got better facilities, but that's not taking anything away from Cleethorpes, because I think Cleethorpes has possibly more collector types, the type of people who are more interested in the vinyl, in the rarity, and I think there's room for both. But I think with the sheer size of the Caligram, where we've made Togetherness our home, I think we've got the opportunity to double the Cleethorpes audience. I don't know how many people know this, but the Fleetwood site, which is the Carla Grand, was originally the site that Alex Lowe's held his weekenders before he moved to Southport. So what is now the Southport Weekender, which really is the biggest dance soul weekender going, was originally at the Carla Grand in Fleetwood. And funnily enough, I remember going to see Richard Serling at an Alex Lowe's promoted weekend back in the, must be the early 80s, and taking up this Kenny Burke exclusive that I had from him at the time, and in fact something we never ever released in the end, and playing it in that same room that we now have the modern soul music, and the track going down really, really well, and Richard being really excited about playing the track, and that was in that exact same room. And Fleetwood, hopefully it will stay in that site. I think it's a great site, and we've enjoyed the last couple of years, and I think that's where it's going to end up staying for the for the near future anyway.
And I mean, hats off to Kevin Roberts, because to organize this thing, it's fantastic. I've never seen a weekend like it. It's great. It's just brilliant. I love it. I just love being in the caravan. And I call myself, I was ringing, talking to my old lady, and I said, guess what? We are now officially trailer trash. Ring Jerry Springer. Must go on Springer. We are trailer trash. No, man. It's why I never thought that I could have that much fun in a caravan park. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. The people are just amazing.
It does, despite what anybody says, it does take some doing to get 1,500 people on a site like this. With all the arranging that people have to do. When our core base is 35 to 50-year-olds, they've all got families and commitments. It does take time and planning, and I just think it's worked really well. And hopefully the Cala Grand and the accommodation that this great site gives them makes them want to come back next year.
We had Kenny Bernard, who was a British soul star in the 60s. He came on to do a PA and did a remarkable job.
Daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, bush, yeah. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, bush, yeah. Daylight come and we want go home. Daylight come and we wanna go home. Work all night and a drink a rum. Stack banana till the morning come. Come, Mr. Tallyman, telling me banana. Come, Mr. Tallyman.
banana. A mighty fine bunch of ripe banana. Highly deadly black tarantula. Daylight come and we want go home. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Daylight come and we want go home. Thank you very much. See you later. See you next year. I'll be back here next year.
This gentleman is absolutely fantastic. He's a nice guy. He loves coming over to England. His name is JJ Barnes. Would you welcome him the way that he should be welcomed? As a Detroit legend, JJ Barnes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow.
first weekend there weren't as many people here as there are now, but it's as you say, it was heaving in here both nights, so it's becoming a lot more popular. People are trying it for the first time, and they will come back definitely, because it's formed itself as probably one of the best modern soul weekenders, definitely. You know, and from the first one, when it was, I don't know exactly how many people were here, but that's doubled definitely. And in this room, it's good to see, you know, a lot more people coming in here, as opposed to the northern room, which holds its own anyway. You know, this was the room that was kind of in its nascent sort of stage at the start, and it's now brought up into something that's got a great atmosphere, and it's very eclectic musically as well.
Well, the one thing I really love about the Togetherness Soul Weekenders is that the Weekenders are about soul music and nothing else. And that's really been the first time since the late 70s and 80s, when I first used to go to Caister and those kind of weekenders. I mean, through the 80s, weekenders kind of took on a bit more of a dance, house music kind of perspective, especially events like the Southport Weekender became dance-led as opposed to soul music-led. And over the years, I think soul music's been downgraded quite a lot, and it's only really taken Fleetwood over the last 2 years, this is going to be the third, that's made an event that is purely 100% soul, northern soul in one room, modern soul in the other, and it's fantastic.
Familiar tune, I know it's called In the Bottom, Mostly. Incognito produced wicked stuff. Alright, we're going to stay like this for a while, keeping the tempo up for a bit. The Lucy track I got from Fish a while ago. It's called Good Lovin', stay with it.
Both rooms have worked really well, you're absolutely right. They've both got their own identity. And there's also a lot of people that have been switching, mainly from the northern room into the modern room, that have just been amazed by the atmosphere in that modern room. It helps when it's a low ceiling. The main room here is a big room to fill, you know, it really is. And therefore atmosphere in there is more difficult to attain. But the modern room, as we saw with Bobby Patterson this afternoon, just springs into another dimension somehow, and it's got 200-300 people in there. And actually, strangely enough, Friday night was just awesome in there. It really was, and we thought Saturday would be even better. It wasn't better, it was as good probably. But for a Friday, I mean, it was just unreal. I can't even put it into words how good it was.
The modern room has expanded greatly. I think there's a wide variety of music being played now. I think as the event becomes a bit more cosmopolitan, we are getting away now from just the rare tag, and there's different windows of opportunity for other records to be played. I mean, for the first time ever, we did a sort of fun boogie session where it was almost disco on Saturday afternoon. Now, one or two collectors may find that not to their liking, but there is a huge market for it, and I think we should, at certain times in a Rare Soul Weekend, embrace the very roots of the culture, as I say, in the modern room, to play some records that were chart records even. We were hearing the Intruders, we were hearing from the 80s, Skipworth and Turner, the Mary Jane Girls. I think that's fantastic and very much part of the Weekender. And to counteract that, in the northern room, on Sunday night we started last year a Roots of, where we play Motown, we play Kim Weston, we play the Contours, we play Ardeen Taylor, we play the very Sam and Dave, the very, very early roots of soul. So I'd like to think that we've got a hugely adventurous playlist.
You know, the thing you must remember about the soul scene is that, you know, back in the day, back in the 70s, it was pop music. I remember going to Caister and records like, you know, Lionel Richie's All Night Long being broken at an event like that, and Cool and the Gang, you know, Ladies Night and Get Down On It and records like that. They were records that started off on the big all-day or weekender scene and went on to be, you know, huge, huge hits. I mean, I remember, you know, records like Fan and Whiteheads, Ain't No Stopping Us Now, and, you know, the Billy Pauls, Bring the Family Back, things like that. They started off, you know, as an import that came in from the States, weren't released in the UK. You know, the big soul DJs sort of, you know, adopted those kind of records, played them like crazy in all the soul gigs and the weekenders, and then they were released in the UK. And because, you know, soul music in those days, you know, was more fashionable within the mainstream, you know, they were hit records.
Sounds of like this. You've got to be optimistic.
You know, after the success of the two Togetherness Weekenders, and obviously we're going into a third weekender now, we thought, this is Richard Surley and myself, it might be a good idea to have an album that basically reflected the kind of music that had been played in the weekenders over the last 2 years, and tracks that we thought were going to be big this year as well. And to be kind of brutally honest with you, that idea didn't exactly stem just from that. It also came from a scene that is developing to quite a large extent on the continent, especially in Sweden. I had the good fortune to DJ there a few times this year, and the soul scene in Sweden in general, in Stockholm, Malmo, Lund, places like that, is absolutely massive. And the one good thing about that is that it is attracting students, younger people, and there's some massive clubs out there like Fusion. And Fusion came up with the idea of doing a compilation for their scene about a year or so ago, and they licensed a couple of tracks that have been big on the Expansion label, which were the Kula Desma track Dreaming, and also Lenny Williams' Got a Lot of Love. And this album was absolutely massive over there, so we thought, well, if they can do it out there, we haven't done a compilation for a few years, so really using that compilation as a kind of a matrix in a way, let's do one ourselves and see how we get on with it, and also maybe even sell some back to Sweden. I know their album out there had sold in excess of 10,000, so hence the idea for Soul Togetherness. It's not out yet. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it together for the third weekender, but I know there's going to be some tracks on there that are going to be played, such as the Ivan Matthias, the Tower of Power, Gene Chandler. There's all sorts of things on there that are going to be big out there. So that's basically the idea of it. And the year 2000 was a good year to start the series, and I think from here on in we'll do one each year. In fact, we're already thinking about what we're going to put on Soul Togetherness 2001.
I play mainly new material, but you know, with a few 70s things put in as well. But I actually love the 70s music, but it kind of, there's specialist sessions for that. You know, in the afternoon sometimes that gets played. It's more, I tend to play more of the up-tempo dancey soul, really, that, you know, which is better for the evenings. But there has been a good mixture here.
Well, I really am going to have to make a move soon because I'm running late, so I've just got a few last-minute records to put together. Start with these sevens, I suppose. Well, I'm definitely going to have to take the Spinners because that is absolutely massive at the moment. I Just Want to Fall in Love. Bessie Banks, Betty Swan, big record, take that. Gail Eason, will I play that? Not really a particularly big record at the moment, but I absolutely love it. Probably not the Nancy Wilson. Pet Brown, I'm the One Who Needs You, massive sort of polydor track. Stephanie Mills, now I probably will play that, it's the B-side on this, not Sweet Sensation. Wish That You Were Mine, absolutely wonderful sort of M. Lucas kind of track.
talking of B-sides, and Timmy and Lucas together with the wonderful Stephanie Mills.
The Spinners have already got that on a 7, probably don't need the album, though I do like to play tracks off albums because of the quality. Manhattan's just a bit of a discovery of mine, actually. Nice little Philly thing. Not many people know this album. That's How Much I Love You, name of the album. And the track I like to play off this is I Don't Want to Pay the Price of Losing You, which in actual fact is going to be on our Soul Togetherness album. So if you don't have the album, wait for that. Few Philly things. It's the one great thing about doing these gigs is I do get a chance to play some of the things I managed to put out myself, either through the Passion label or Expansion. Carolyn Crawford, Anthony White, Archie Bell. Never Go Anywhere Without a Gene Carn record, so that's going to be in there. I need to find a Phyllis Hyman. I don't go anywhere without Phyllis Hyman, so there's got to be one around here somewhere. Jeffrey, little independent things, massive. Derek Hughes, now this is probably one of the most underrated albums of the year. There's a track on this particular album called All for Love, that's the title track. Probably one of the best dance records of the year. And one thing I have to say about a lot of records that come out these days is it's very difficult to find a really good dance track. A lot of albums come out, a lot of tracks are great for radio, like Jazz FM that play a lot of smooth soul, a lot of smooth R&B. And a lot of the R&B albums that come out today tend to be a little bit slow, very difficult to play in a club, but there's a track on here, All for Love, as I said, absolutely wonderful. Looking forward to playing that. I will definitely play that. It's also, believe it or not, on our Soul Togetherness album, but that's not out yet, so I'm going to have to play it off that. Incognito, that's off a CDR. This is an exclusive, features May Salik. Wasn't on the last album, got missed off, but my little friend Giles at Talking Loud ran this off for me specially. My Book of Love, Phil Perry, great album, may play something off that. Again, that's going to be one of the best albums of the year 2000. And what else have we got here? Glenn Jones, always take a bit of Glenn Jones with me. Probably not going to need that. Dennis Taylor, I did mention that album earlier. Now I need my Leon Ware. I've got this Leon Ware CDR. It's got 6 tracks from the Musical Massage album that have never ever come out. A friend of mine who works for Motown in New York did a little sneaky, he ran me off a CDR from the tape vaults basically. Very, very naughty, but there's a couple of nice things on that I'm probably going to play.
This is the 3rd weekender that's happened. I've worked here since the first one, and this room has now really formed its own identity. And the atmosphere in here, especially on the Friday, was excellent, you know, and everybody's up for whatever's being played. So, you know, it's a cross section of music from the 70s right up to what's happening now, and also a lot of stuff that's about to be released gets a kind of a first airing in this room. But it's also been about a lot of the classic records, you know, that have gone down with the punters that have been coming to weekenders here and from before. You know, there's records that have become classics, and they're also getting played here, which is good.
Right, this, by the way, is the very untidy section of my office here at Expansion Records, and I probably will play a few Expansion things at the Weekender. We've just got the new Lamont Dozier album, a couple of nice things on that. But I'm definitely really pleased to be able to put this out, the Inner Shade album, featuring Chris Ballin on vocals and May Salik. Wonderful track on here, Tell Me Something. Definitely going to play that. So I'll take that with me. The Woody Cunningham, we've just done an EP of the dancier tracks from the 2 albums, so I'm probably going to want to take one of those. But that's about it, because I'm really running late. I'm going to have to go, so sorry about that. I'll see you later.
Getting to the Togetherness Weekend was a real fraught event. I went with Ralph T and Simon White. We went in Ralph's car. And Ralph was late anyway because he was late sorting his records out. Had to get them all together at the last minute. And we got in the car and we're heading up there. And we went the wrong way on the M5. I don't know how we did it because the traffic was so bad we were trying to take a shortcut and avoid it. We were warned of big traffic jams up ahead. So we decided, going up on the M40 where it joins the M6, we'd go on the M5 and skirt and join at Wolverhampton. And we just were on the M5 and further and further and further on the M5. And I thought, Ralph, there's something wrong here. And I suddenly realised we were nearly in Gloucester, so we had to turn around.
Ralph? Ralph, I'm sure we're going the wrong way.
Ralph, look, that's Gloucester. They're coming up to... Ralph, what are you doing? We're going the wrong way on the M5. We're going towards Gloucester. We're supposed to be going towards Fleetwood. We're hours late. Turn round. What are we going to do? Ralph, what the f*** have you done?
Next track's, again, more of a listener than a dancer, but brilliant. Produced by Joe, Changing Faces, Battle the Woman.
DJ lineup in here, you've got people like Terry Jones from London, Gary Dennis from Essex. You've also got you know, Richard Serling, people from all over the country that are working here. Mike Stevens from Manchester. So it's DJs coming together of all the DJs that work throughout the year in the clubs around the country as well.
To see Frank Wilson doing Do I Love You? I mean, I know the record's worth £15,000 and all of that, but it's not really for me. I think I'm going to be spending more of my time in the modern room, listening to DJs like Terry Jones and Andy Davis, you know, and Mike Stevens, who I just think are fabulous to listen to. I'd rather listen to the records than spend too much time watching the acts in the northern room, to be honest with you.
You Can Bury Me with that record. That is Vivian Reid and the Magnificent. Save Your Love For Me, especially for Sue. This one for Taff, Pretenders. Sunday morning, come on. Sunday.
The modern soul side of the Togetherness Weekenders is really a smaller consideration. I mean, the Northern Soul is really what drives that weekend. They've got the big room, they have the live acts. The Modern Soul room is a much smaller room, and whereas the Northern room, when they put a live act on in there, they have a live band. I mean, Snake Davis has been there for the last couple of years providing the instrumentation, and a fabulous job he does of that. In the modern room, the acts that have been there over the last couple of years have played to like a backing tape. It's not been a live situation. And I had the embarrassing, a very embarrassing situation the first year we did Fleetwood, in that we were due to have Kashif, who's an expansion artist, come over from the United States to perform live. We were just about to drop his album on the label. We were all very excited about that. I mean, the tracks had been heard on the Modern Soul scene. There's a few of the tracks being played a lot. And literally the day before he was due to jump on a plane, come to Fleetwood, he announced that he had some terrible kind of hay fever or sinus problems or God knows what it was, and announced that he wasn't going to be able to make it. And I had the job of having to go on stage 1 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday and announce that he wasn't going to be there. And that was so embarrassing for me because A, I had to do it, B, it was an expansion act. But also it was embarrassing because a lot of people had come down just to see him. I mean, the guy's a legend from the 80s, and a lot of people had never seen him before, and a lot of people had come to see him, and it was just like awful when he never showed up. I mean, that was literally one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me. The only good thing to come out of it was that I managed to nab his suite at the hotel in Fleetwood, but I'm keeping that one to myself, so you can't use that in the video.
The days of melting into each other, as you can see my eyes are like, Dracula or something. But I'm not the only one. First, I woke up this morning with Jack Daniels in hand. Somebody showed in my hand. And I think I went out last night listening to the rainfall and thinking that I'm swimming in an ocean of lager. And I woke up some hours later this morning with Jack Daniels. This is breakfast. Somebody picked some breakfast. And I thought, what? But I don't really drink that much. I had a lager. I mean, I can hold my own, but I'm not really a drinker. But hey, man, everybody went wallop, so I just followed through. Yeah, okay, wallop. Next thing, somebody from one of the trailers, one of the band came over. Bam, bam, bam. Hey, Jim, come in. Came in, next thing I know, bottle of wine, you know. Here we go again, and next thing I know, I'm back at the club, and everybody seemed to just picked out, it's just one continuation, what a weekend. And it's only Saturday, Christ's sakes. Beautiful weekend, beautiful, just the most beautiful, the longest beautiful night ever.
Jimmy Thomas joined us. Jimmy, of course, started out with Ike and Tina Turner Review, and he had a couple of Northern Soul classics himself, and he's quite revered within the Northern Soul fraternity.
I first met the legendary Jimmy Thomas 30 years ago. He'd been living in Los Angeles, working with Ike and Tina Turner. He came over to England and he had a record out called We Ain't Here Looking for No Trouble, which was quite a cult mod record at the time. He's been forgotten now. Anyway, he had two very big Northern Soul records, Where There's a Will, There's a Way on the Merwood label, and The Beautiful Night on Parlophone, which was a record that he'd actually recorded over in England with him and P.P. Arnold doing the backing vocals. And in the early days of the Northern Soul scene, these things broke. I became quite friendly with Jimmy. He's lived in a road called Chepstow Crescent. And when I used to first visit London from Blackpool, Used to go down and go out for dinner with him and met him and everything. And I've got a wonderful photo of me and him at the Torch together in 1972. So it's 28 years ago, me and Jimmy Thomas taking the Torch. So Kev Roberts put it in his book, Top 500 Northern Soul Singers of all time. Quite an honour to have that picture. And yeah, the actual Weekender, Jimmy was there and I actually showed him the book. He was gobsmacked to see it because although I've changed quite a lot, he looked exactly the same. 28 years later, he hasn't changed at all. Anyway, he apparently bought the house down. I wasn't there on a Friday night, but I'm told he was wonderful. And we decided to get him to come and sing the title song for this actual special focus on the Weekender. So we wrote a song called Togetherness for Jimmy, especially for this weekend.
What it is, be in love, whatever it is. If there's a will, there's got to be a way. I just want to know if y'all believe that tonight. If you believe it, let me hear you say, yeah! No, y'all won't believe it. One more time. If you believe it, say yeah! All right. Now, what we gonna do? Let's give it a little Northern Soul stomp out. Come on now. Well, there's a will. There's got to be a way. We can die a day. Whatever people say. Well, there's a will. There's got to be a way.
I was fired up anyway, sweating in the heat, everybody, and it was just wonderful. And finally I fought my way back over to the side of the bandstand, getting ready to come on and listen to Snake and the Boys kick. And went on stage and hey, what can I say? Hey, no, it was fantastic. I just loved it. It was so much, it's more, I think, from my perspective, I don't know if everybody feel like me, but from my perspective, I think probably more passion was experienced last night for moi than in the whole of I don't know, maybe 10 years of living in a big city. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, Jimmy Thomas, the answer will come. Give him a hand. Fantastic, give him a hand.
Here he comes from Sacramento, California. You entertained you last night, you get a double helping. Jimmy Conwell.
Thank you. You know, music is a part of life, yeah? It's one of the thrills of young America. And young America has been responsible for most of the world's dance craze. We did the stuff
great privilege to be DJing at the Togetherness Weekender as probably one of the main headline DJs. Back in the 70s, I was probably one of the 3 or 4 most well-known of all the Northern Soul DJs, and got out of it for a long time. Got really interested into it again when I made the documentary The Strange World of Northern Soul, and decided it was time to start DJing again. When I got back into it, I had kept quite a few good records from the past, but I'd sold most of them off, so on a lot of the classics I just had a few bootleg pressings and stuff, and a few originals that I kept of favourites like the charades and stuff. But I think in the last 2 years I've feverishly been rebuying them back again. I think my collection of original records and a few sort of obscurities is pretty second to none, and I'm quite proud to be one of the headline DJs at Togetherness. It's probably the premier event of the year, and if I had to pick one single event that I'd like to DJ at, that would be it for Kevin Richard. I'm very excited, and it was a wonderful thing, especially with Frank Wilson on, to be able to get Frank Wilson over to do the most valuable legendary Northern Soul record of all time, and to be the DJ who went on just before he came on for like a good hour and a bit probably. It was a fantastic achievement. I'm very proud of it and very grateful to Kevin Richard for letting me have the main spot. Thank you.
The DJs are working fine. We've got a bigger lineup than ever this year. We've got guys from London, the Capital Soul Club, Tim Brown, Ian Levine back to his home roots in Blackpool, and it's just gone exceptionally well, and we're looking forward to a great party tonight for our final night.
And you've got Ginger Taylor and Chris King and of course Kev Roberts himself and Richard Serling. I mean, what a great DJ lineup.
Although I know my life will be when work and die, but I love you.
Okay, Togetherness Weekender, what did we play? Let's look through a few of the classics here and see what we managed to play. There's so much stuff. Morris Chestnut, Too Darn Soulful. Jackie Lee, Darkest Days. Two nice originals. Pookie Hudson, This Gets to Me. These are not in any order. This is totally unrehearsed, so I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. I'm just looking through my DJ's ones and seeing what we actually did play there. So many to choose from. What have we got here? The Vonettes, Touch My Heart, another great forgotten classic. Earl Jackson, Soul Cell Satisfaction. Mark Jackson, I'll Never Forget You, absolute favourite. Van McCoy released in Britain as Chris Jackson, but the American copy says Mark Jackson. These are not in any order at all, so it's very hard to see exactly what was played at Togetherness. Just looking for a few classics. Here we go. Jack Montgomery, Dear Beloved, another classic. And the perennial all-time favourite, Billy Woods, Let Me Make You Happy. Only Picture Me with Sound. People think it broke at Wigan, it broke at the Mecca first. You Don't Love Me. The High Keys, Living a Lie. Absolute classic, still as valuable as ever. In fact, probably more valuable now than it ever was. God, there's some good records in here. Alice Clark, You Hit Me Where It Hurt Me. Bit of a tatty copy, but it's an original. Bob Ralph, Blow My Mind to Pieces. Absolute floor fillers, get Togetherness jumping up and down. And of course, the greatest Northern Soul record ever made, Toby Legend, Time Will Pass You By.
I've got the DJs that I feel are the right DJs in those rooms to make the rooms work to full impact. So I'm not saying I don't want to DJ anymore, but I do feel I've got people that I can trust implicitly to make it happen, and by and large that's happened. So it's nice to do the DJing as a bit of a last minute thing really, but the main focus now has got to be on making sure the event runs smoothly.
Also DJing at Togetherness with the London bunch, the Capital Soul Club. The Capital Soul Club have every couple of months have a venue at a place in London called the Dome in Tufnell Park, which is fantastic. It holds nearly 1,000 people, and it looks like Wigan Casino inside. I mean, it smells and feels like a Northern Soul venue. And they're playing totally 60s. They are very, very dogmatic that they won't go into the 70s, which I think is a shame because I think there's room for both 60s and 70s. I personally equally like both. But the interesting thing about the Capital Soul Club boys, who DJ'd at Togetherness as well, is the fact that they are all in their 20s. Dave Flynn's in his 30s, but the rest are in their 20s. They're young, they're vibrant, they're fresh, and the future of the scene is when there's new blood coming in, not a bunch of 40-somethings or even 50-somethings lately, but the young, fresh, new blood in their 20s, and that's what's going to keep the scene alive for years to come. But they're really into their 60s music, seriously purists.
I'm one of the resident DJs at the Capital Soul Club, along with Irish Greg, Carl Fortnum, Alan Hanscom, and it's also run by a guy called Matt Johans. Kev asked us out to go to Togetherness because we've been making good things happen down in London at a club called The Dome. Packing it out, it's once every other month, get 500 odd people coming through the doors. And it's mainly a 60s soul policy. We're not particularly into the 70s, that's not what our crowd seems to favour. We go for the lesser known, underplayed sounds, and that's what we wanted to do at Togetherness, to just show them what kind of sounds are happening down in London.
Just before we start the next portion, which will just lead us into tonight's entertainment, Barry Gordy once said, I earned $367 million in 18 years. That tells me I'm doing something right. That's partly because of Frank Wilson. Frank Wilson is one of our special guests coming up very shortly. I'm going to do 5 songs that Frank produced, not just for Motown, but for other labels. This is some of Frank's work.
Saturday night was very special because Frank Wilson, the discovery of him and the uniqueness of that record, which is now worth 15,000 quid, I think really fired the crowd up, and he was great. And I think once we'd, if you like, educated 1 or 2 people on who he was behind that record, with his productions with the Four Tops and the Supremes, etc., they really warmed to him.
All right. Yeah, well, obviously, I've been asked to comment on the record that everybody knows me by, which is obviously the Frank Wilson Indeed I Do on soul. It goes without saying it's a very, very rare and valuable record, and I don't think there's many people out there on the soul scene that don't know the value of the record now at some £15,000. The record itself I had been chasing for a number of years, and the other known copy belongs to Tim Brown of Goldmine, and after harassing him on 2 or 3 different occasions to be told I would never ever get my hands on it, Matt and Coppels come up on auction, and it's like everything else, you go out your way when you want something badly enough, and that's what it costs to get the sound. Obviously, you know from the background music, we're at the Caligrand Weekender here in Fleetwood, and what a fantastic night meeting Frank Wilson, and trepidation wasn't the word to describe how I felt when I was asking him to sign on the record itself, but I can reveal he wrote under the heading Do I Love You, he wrote Indeed I Do, Best Wishes Kenny, Frank Wilson, so that will go with me to the grave, and what a fantastic night.
I'm amazed that Kenny Burrell paid £15,000 to own 1 of 2 known copies of this song, Do I Love You, Indeed I Do, the original version. Of course, I believe that Billie Jean Brown, who was in charge of what do you call it, who was in charge
of quality control. She kept a copy of literally everything, and it's hard for me to believe that she does not have a copy of not more than one copy. Tell you what, when I get home, I'm certainly going to look her up and see if I can't get something in. Trust me, if I find it, it's yours.
I talked about history. It's still the most talked about, sought after, harmless of them all. From Detroit.
Come on, bring it down.
You with me? Do I love you? Sing it with me. Do I love you? Come on, help me out now. Do I love you? Come on. Do I love you? Come on, brothers. Do I love you? Come on, men. Do I love you? Do I love you? Do I love you? Yeah, yeah. Come on, say it.
For those of you who may not already know, and I've told the story before, Berry Gordy and I had come to an agreement that I would not be an artist. I, in fact, had chosen to be a writer and a producer. I had already recorded one record as Eddie Wilson, A Toast to the Lady, and that was the one experience I needed in that particular medium. I wanted to be a writer and a producer. Therefore, when I did Do I Love You, Indeed I Do, initially it was done as a demo, and then we completed it as a master. And when Berry wanted to release that record, my heart really wasn't in it. And I think he really realized that when we stood backstage at the Fox Theater and talked about it. I'm glad that I became a writer and a producer, because I've produced literally millions upon millions of songs, record sales. And this one song, I mean, if you had to have a real taste of what it meant to be an artist, boy, this is the height, in my estimation, of what it means to be an artist, to be so adored and so appreciated, and to see fans that love you clear across the other side of the world. What a splendid opportunity I've been given in this life.
I just said to Frank when I was talking to him there before he's got his cab back to London, his limo back to London, that I've never seen so many people respond to a track. I was at Major Lands at the Torch, and I've been at Wigan Casino and a lot of famous venues, but to see 1,500 people singing back to him was just, I can't imagine what it was like for him. He's never ever going to forget that, and I don't think anybody that was there last night will. Let me tell you something. When I walked out on that stage, when I felt the electricity in that room, when I felt the love and sensed the real unadulterated appreciation for a work that I had done many years ago, that has been loved indeed for many years, at the Soul weekend, at the all-nighter, I was blown away. Just the appreciation, just the acceptance to know that this is something that I did that long ago that has lived, and it has lived in the hearts and in the minds of these people. But not just that, but just performing before them and watching them. It was almost as though we were working in tandem, that somehow we had become partners, that we were all old friends that hadn't seen each other for a real long time. And I sensed that I was a part of what was going on there at that weekend. It was truly exciting. I don't know that it's anything that I'll ever have another opportunity
to do, but I tell you what, the fact that I've done it this one time has impacted my life in a way that very few things have.
One record that's had a couple of spins at the Dome has proved to be popular is the Four Vandals, The Wrong Side of the Town, which Ian's just acquired, and he actually gave it his first airing in 30 years to the scene at Togetherness. A real belt of a track.
The Togetherness Weekender is not really the venue to be extra experimental. I mean, there's going to be 2,000 people in there. They want absolute classic oldies. You've got to play a couple of things. I mean, I wouldn't be in Levine if I didn't dig a couple of records out that no one knew. My greatest find at the moment is a record we used to play at Blackpool Mecca in the early 70s that seems to be so rare and disappeared without trace. And at the time of the actual Weekender, the only person that had a copy I knew of was Phil Dick, and I managed to borrow his and play it. Since then I've been lucky enough, a friend of mine, Eddie Pierce, acquired a copy and I managed to buy it from a do-up collection in New York, but here it is. Probably the biggest sound around at the moment, the Four Vandals, The Wrong Side of Town. Most fantastic late 60s New Jersey record. Super rare. Nobody knows how to get hold of it. I was so lucky to get it, and it broke at the Togetherness Weekender. They were queuing up when I played it to find out what it was. That was the big record of the weekend, the Four Vandals.
Well, one of the things I'm definitely looking forward to at the Weekender is, you know, going through some of the record stalls and seeing what's on sale. Historically, I've always bought albums more than 7-inch singles, and I know to be like a real legitimate soul fan, you really need to have the original 7-inch. Well, that's what people tell me, and I guess to a certain extent it's true. Over the years, I guess coming from London, which is a slightly different mentality from coming from the north, I've collected 12-inch singles, I've collected albums, I've got a substantial collection. Sometimes I think that I've more or less got everything that I know, though occasionally, you know, when I go to Soul Brother Records, it's a store near me here in London, they'll uncover some amazing album I've never seen before in my life, and you know, they'll want to charge me a couple of £100 for it, and more often than not I indulge. But more recently, because I think I've got most of the albums I'm ever going to want now, I've started to expand on my 7-inch collection, and that's one thing I'm looking to explore a lot more this particular Weekender, is a lot of the 7-inch singles that are no doubt going to be on sale. Everything from, like, you know, the £5 records up to, you know, well, you know, I'm not going to be able to afford too much, but you know, some of the sort of bigger price ones as well. It
was great at Togetherness to see the legendary Tim Brown DJing. I mean, Tim said that he's the third of the super collectors. The first one being Bob Stevens, who was my inspiration. Bob was the first person I saw with a massive soul collection that I wanted to aspire to be like. And then when I used to write for Black Music magazine, Tim said he wanted to be like me. He wanted to have the lot, not just the northern ones, but the greatest soul collection. In my day, I had 65,000 and sadly sold 55,000 more and only kept 10. Now I'm built it all back up again. I'm back where I was, but I lost a lot of great records by selling them off. I regret it greatly. I sold records, £10 a waltz with the Admirations. It's worth at least a couple of grand now. I sold Carmelo Brooks, which I bought for a lot of money recently. I sold it for 8 pence, and with all the 8 pence records to Bernie Golding. So we've all made a lot of mistakes. There's all the Shrine stuff off cheap. I had every record nearly on Shrine. Tragic that I sold them off. But anyway, Tim's got them all, and it's great to see someone that knowledgeable actually DJing. I was knocked out to see him DJing.
Well, there's certain tracks which everybody seems to like and everybody seems to want, and nobody can get because they're just staying in collections. They might not be rare. They might only be a £100-200 record, which obviously is not a lot in collecting terms. But trying to obtain them becomes impossible. Records like Yvonne Baker or Rubin or Dana Valerie, just the well-known classics, they just don't come up for sale anymore. And when they do, sure, dealers want to put a premium on them, and who can blame them?
I never look to buy records just for the sake of it. I mean, I'm not going up there thinking I really want to expand my record collection, so let's spend as much money as I can possibly afford just buying records just to have in the collection. It's never really been about that for me. You know, if a record touches me or it's something that I know I've been wanting for a while, or something looks interesting that I've not seen before and I think maybe now's the only chance I'm going to get to buy this record, then, or if it's recommended by someone, they're the sort of things I'll be looking for.
Sounds that have proved to be popular down at the Dome, which we aired at Togetherness for the first time. Things like Unissued September Jones track called Give Me All of Your Love, the Benny Spellman track, This One's For You, My Love, along with a few old forgotten Stafford rarities, Rod Keith and The Lord Said, Neurons.
The other big record we broke at the weekend was another forgotten Blackpool Mecca classic. This is by Robert Dobine, a guy who later on became a member of the Artistics. Called I Can't Get Along Without You. It's the original version of a song that Maxine Brown did on Commonwealth. And I was in the 100 Club and I heard Eddie Crosdale playing Maxine Brown. I went up to him and I said, we used to play a version of Blackpool Mecca. He said, nonsense. I said, yes, there was a male vocal and it was faster. And I went through all my old tapes and I found it and started searching for it. And because it was unknown, I managed to pick up a copy for 50 quid. It's probably now worth about 500. Most fantastic record. Robert Dobine, Can't Get Along Without You. And again, it re-broke at the Togetherness Weekender.
One of the secret weapons that we've got here is Snake Davis and Suspicions. I think back in the 70s the live band was pretty poor and incidental to what was going on. I remember distinctly when I was at Wigan Casino having people like Jackie Wilson there and Betty Wright, who were absolutely fantastic performers. But sadly, the band left a lot to be desired. Today, with Snake Davis, they are so good that people actually want to come along just to see them alone.
Snake Davis hit the stage. Snake and his band. I mean, I ain't heard a band that kicked more ass than them for years, man. These guys, they got it.
I'm very pleased that Snake Davis is getting this following on the Northern Soul scene. He's been a sax player for many, many years. In fact, going back to some of the pop hits I did, like Take That's, A Million Love Songs, he was actually not only playing the sax on it, but actually went on top of the pops and did it. But his roots always have been in real soul. And anytime I needed a proper Motown kind of sax, I used to say, you know, come on Snake, think Junior Walker, and he would know exactly what I meant, and we'd have it within 5 seconds. The quickest and most skilled and efficient person I've ever seen. His band are fantastic, and he really understands Northern Soul. To do a bunch of songs like Summer Ride and Alfie Davidson's Love Is Serious Business shows some serious credibility, and there isn't a better band in the country.
Yeah, Snake Davis and, as we were saying, I put the band together to back Bobby Patterson, Frank Wilson and Jimmy Thomas, and after having been involved in the scene for, what, 15, 16, 17 years, this year we put our own set together as well, and a lot of people were asking how you pick the tunes, and my soul brother Dave, the bass player, and myself, we just been talking about this for 11 months now. We've been swapping tapes, listening to things. Richard Serling made some great suggestions, and so tunes like Summer Ride and Love Is Serious Business, we play them because we love them. You know, Meet Me at Midnight is another one. Open the Door to Your Heart. I mean, these are tunes that we've been buzzing around our heads for all these years. We thought it'd be great to do our own versions of them. And on the other side, being the backing bands for all these American artists, that's something that's also dear to our hearts, and we've got a great team doing that, as you've probably seen by now. And in the early days, you know, there just weren't really the musicians in the UK that were doing this job right. You know, horses for courses and all that, and you know, artists were coming over and just picking up the wrong kind of musicians, a session band, and it wasn't working. And I've got a bunch of true soul boys and soul girls who play this music with passion because they love it. And you know, you can't dance as well as you guys, but I mean, we feel it as much, and so that's why we put the band together. And that really dates back to Chris King phoning me about 17 years ago and saying, I believe you're Snake Davis and you play like Junior Walker. And well, he doesn't talk like that, does he? I can't do him, but he said, I've got Gene Chandler coming over. I went, who? And he needs a band. And that started it all off for me. We were already playing Stax, Atlantic, Motown music, but I hadn't discovered the whole Northern thing and all the rarities. But now I'm into that scene, and long may it last.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
You can't dance as well as you guys. You can't dance as well as you guys.
This is the last chance. Give it up, please. Who's going to win the Silver Cup? Be the top dancer, dancing competition, Carla Grant. Good luck to everybody. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way straight after this. Good luck. Last one. All 6 of you. Everybody knows it. Carla Grant, hands together. It's your weekend in Fleetwood. It's happening. Don't forget the football tomorrow. Yeah? Give it up, everybody. Make some noise. Everybody that was in, over here, please. Over here, we're doing it the Butlins way. It's Carla Grant, it's Ollie Camp. Line up here, please. I know it's a bit old-fashioned. Come on. If you're in the competition, get over here. I need to see all of you. Come on. I'm sorry, we've got no second or third. It's one winner going to take this fabulous silver trophy. Silver, solid. Are we all in? Come on. Come on. You're here as well. Before we do go there, just get in a line, please. Some sort of line, if you can. If you've got any strength left. Before we go through the final bit, judging, give them all a round of applause and kill themselves here. Right, good luck to you all. Shout and cheer when I put the cup over their head. Who you want to be the winner? One winner only. This guy here. Give him a cheer no matter what. This guy here, number 2. This lady here, number 3. This guy here, I think it's number 4. Number 5, this young lady. What's your name? What's your name, love? Where are you from? Do you know a lot of people here? First time. Last but not least. I'm not winding it out, we'll just do it one more time. I'm going back to 2 people. I'm sorry, this is what I think. Number 2. Number 5. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carol. She's from Bolton. Gala Grand Togetherness 2000 Dancing Champion. Give it up, please.
And then from a real performance point of view, Bobby Patterson was absolutely fantastic. Whilst Frank Wilson possibly stole the show out of curiosity value, Bobby Patterson certainly did everything that we expected of him. And he was a real good Southern Soul star. Remarkable performance.
Bobby Patterson. Now, there's something interesting here. Bobby Patterson has the distinction of being the first artist to have a record covered up on the Northern Soul scene. Back in the days of the Twisted Wheel, the legendary pioneer Rob Bellas had this record by Bobby called What a Wonderful Night for Love. It came out in America on Jetstream, but it came out in Britain on a British label called Palmer, P-A-M-A, and it was still available and no one knew that. So Rob stuck labels all over the record, called it another artist, Benny Harper, who had a different record that was out, and called it What a Wonderful Night by Benny Harper, and everybody thought it was worth a fortune and didn't realise they could have gone into a record shop for I think 6 and 8pence or whatever it was at the time and bought a copy. So it was quite a scam and it was quite interesting. I don't know if Bobby ever knew this, but that was his first Northern Soul record to break, What a Wonderful Night for Love.
And on the other side of the coin, Bobby Patterson, who's a real deep soul man who came through so strong last night and has just in the modern room here done a separate set, which I think we're privileged to see. It's the sort of set he'd do in America, but never to that response. It was just absolutely awesome.
My baby's coming back to me. That's what it's all about. Yeah. My baby's coming back to me. Yeah. And I'm so happy that I can shout. So everyone get. My baby's coming back to me. That's what it's all about. My baby's coming back to me. And I'm so happy that I can shout. Shout it! My baby's coming back to me. That's what it's all about. My baby's coming back to me. And I'm so happy that I can shout. My baby's coming back.
You know what? It was a long time since I saw this song. And y'all made me remember the words.
My baby's coming back.
When y'all sing it,
and I'm so happy that I.
Everybody know the song, say.
My baby's coming back to me. That's what it's all about. My baby's coming back to me.
Pull that shot, say.
I'm so happy that I can shout. Coming back to me. That's what it's all about. My baby's coming back to me. I'm
Well, I hope you enjoyed the last hour and a half. And this Northern Soul scene is going to go from strength to strength because of its spectacularness and because of the kind of synergy that you see and that you yourself will become a part of. Thank you for looking in on us, and I know you did enjoy it.
Hoping no one's gonna see us, hiding away from familiar faces, but nothing's gonna free us. There in the shadow of the night, staying far away from the light, not caring whether it's wrong or right. I can't think about anything but you. Secret doors to secret places, secret dreams and lipstick traces, secret doors to secret places, with nothing behind us and no one can find us there. Find us there. Now we've been hiding up a little love, we've been trying through the public. I won't be crying the tears of a clown. Now that's quite a different subject. Now I don't care what the world may say. Nobody can take my love away. I wish I could shout it out today and let them know who matters more to me. Secret doors to secret places, secret dreams and lipstick traces, secret doors to secret places. Nothing behind us, and no one can find us.
The wonder of Wiener World.